What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. From watching Challenger gameplay, there's lots of small tricks here and there that the players use to get an edge on their opponents. And since I'm not a Challenger player, I've brought in my man Pantsar Dragon, Challenger jungler main, who helped me make this list of tips and tricks and will help me explain a few of them later in the video. So these tips are all coming from a Challenger player. Now these kinds of tricks are fairly random and some are a bit situational, so it's a compilation of some sorts, and it's possible that you might know some of these or even have done some of them before, but the key point is that Challenger players use these tricks in every single game very consistently. Let's get started. Our first trick involves Rek'Sai tunnels, Skarner spires, and any other objects that interact with your opponents without actually giving vision. And the trick is that they actually do give vision if you pay close attention to them. In the example of Rek'Sai tunnels, they might not appear to give vision on the map, but if you're paying close attention, you can see when they disappear from the map or in the fog of war. And by seeing them disappear, you know that somebody is there, because they had to have been if they removed your tunnel. So for example, a high level Rek'Sai player can put some tunnels in the opponent's jungle, and then watch their minimap closely, and see when the tunnels get cleared, and when they do, they know that the enemy jungler is there, and they get some nice vision of their opponent. It's mostly applicable with Rek'Sai, but it also works with Skarner's spires, and a few other champions who have abilities that have a similar interaction. Alright, that's the first tip. Now let's pass it over to Pantsar Dragon.
Hey guys, I'm Pantsar Dragon, and I'm glad to be back on this channel once more, and I'm just going to be going over a few things. So first up, supports in Challenger roam mid very specifically on their first back, or on future backs, because after you back, the lane is usually pushed up into the enemy's tower, especially if you get a kill or you just push it up so you want it to bounce off. And then the enemy minion wave will grow into a huge wave for your AD carry to farm, but only after a bit of time. So you get a minute or so to go gank mid. Usually, they will try and go mid on their first recall and gank the mid laner, or if that doesn't work out, they can drop a ward somewhere along the river and get some ward coverage for the mid laner. Meanwhile, your AD carry doesn't have to do anything. All he has to do is not get caught and stand by his tower until the minion wave crashes into his tower, therefore getting him some experience points and CS. To make sure the AD carry doesn't get dived on, the support should already be done roaming mid and on his way back to the bottom lane when the creep wave gets pushed into the tower. The support should never do this when the enemy is doing a freeze and zoning off his AD carry, and if he's also someone like Soraka who can't really gank well. Alright, so next up we're going to be talking about fake movements. This is essentially where you manipulate the vision that your opponents have of you to make them think that you are going somewhere that you are not. The most common example of this is something like the jungler exiting a lane into one side of the jungle, but then walking around and heading towards the other side of the map. The enemies will see you headed in a certain direction when you exit their vision. But in the fog of war, you change directions completely and head to a different part of the map, but you're actually going in the complete opposite. This is usually easier with Evelynn since it doesn't take that much time and you can walk through the lane instead of taking the time to walk all the way around, but it's also possible with any other jungler, although you do have to remember that sometimes there may be wards on the map. Thus you might have wasted your time unless it's in the early game where people only have their trinkets. That's why this trick is much more successful with Evelynn, as there are tons of wards once people have finished their first recall. But disregard that for a second and back to the trick. So what the enemies should be doing is telling their team that you went to the top side of the map, so that can lead to some false information and leading the bot lane playing pretty aggressive or overextending, and then bam, you show up and hit bot side. And information is communicated in Challenger and Master very frequently, so when someone is seen in the enemy jungle, that is pinged so everyone is aware of where the enemy jungler is, and that can leave the laners switching up their playstyle a bit. I know it heavily affects me if I'm laning and I don't know where the enemy jungler is, so I switch to a very passive style, but if I know where he is, I can switch up to a more aggressive style if I can. So this trick can be super useful if you're a bit higher elo.
Our next tip involves avoiding pinks and sweepers when warding around Baron. Baron is a highly contested area when it comes to vision, and so when attempting to contest it, especially if your opponents have the better position, they are often going to use pinks and sweepers to clear out all of your wards in the areas, and then you're left to face check into an inevitable teamfight or to give up Baron for free. The ward placement I'm showing on the screen right now is an incredibly underutilized but fantastic spot to ward Baron, because the ward will not show up from the typical pink ward spot, and it certainly won't be found with a sweeper, since most players will try to clear the bushes, the area in front of the pit, and then check inside the pit itself. but the ward works great since it dodges both sweepers and pinks due to the curved angle of the wall, but will still give you enough vision to where you can see for sure if the enemy team is doing Baron or not. And so it's a great spot to ward when you want to keep vision on Baron, but won't be able to position inside and control the vision around the pit for whatever reason. People do this one a lot in Challenger, and I actually really like this trick since this is one of the things on this list that I personally didn't know about until Pants showed it to me. And speaking of Pants, let's pass it back over to him for the next trick.
Next, we're going to be talking about the double jungle. So, this originated in the LCS, or maybe the Korean meta, where most ideas translate into solo queue. And now I'm actually seeing some Diamond players actually do it too. This strategy is literally used every game. There's an off time when someone doesn't do it for a specific reason, like if they want to push in the wave so that the other double jungler misses a wave. But the reason why people do double jungle is so that the jungler comes out with more hit points at the end of his route and hitting level 3 than he would with a normal leash. Now since he has more hit point at the end of his route, he can apply more early game pressure, maybe get like 2 or 3 ganks, rather than backing after like 1 gank. Plus his bottom lane is always using golems or gromp to hit that early level 2, so he can't really get a leash for them, but instead can help out his bot lane by using the smite on the golems or gromp to help fasten their clear. And it also benefits the top laner since he can buy 5 health potions and maybe a ward for a safer early laning phase. The top laner also hits level 2 so they won't fall behind in experience. Either way, this strategy is used a lot in the majority of the games just because of how it makes the jungler's life easier as well as the top laners, and it's pretty simple. Just have the top laner tank the jungle camps since they can back and TP to lane while you share XP, and let the top laner get all the little small creeps so you get that plus 30 gold off the big minions while he get the smaller minions which give the same gold value if you were to kill them too.
So big thanks to Pantsar Dragon for joining the video today, as it absolutely would not have been possible without him. Check him out through the link in the description or the annotation on the screen if you're looking for some more Challenger level content just like in this video.